She never thought a scar would define her future. But the moment Graham Hale saw Nia Carter sitting in that lobby, he made a judgment that would haunt him forever. "Don't hire her, Dad. She looks dangerous," he warned, convinced his instincts were protecting his vulnerable father from a threat that didn't exist. What Graham didn't know was that within hours, this woman he tried to keep away would be the only thing standing between his father and death. But saving a life was just the beginning, because someone in that office was watching, waiting, and plotting to destroy Nia before she could prove she belonged. The threatening messages, the sabotage, the whispered rumors, they were all designed to drive her out. Yet what they didn't count on was Graham's guilt turning into something much more powerful, or that the dangerous woman would become the one person who could change everything. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me what city you're watching from, because this story of judgment, redemption, and unexpected love is just getting started. The morning sun cut through the glass doors of Hale Industries like a judgment. Graham Hale pushed through them with his shoulders tight, his jaw set. He hadn't slept. Again. 3 nights now, he'd lain awake thinking about his father's last doctor's appointment, the way Richard had brushed off the fatigue, the shortness of breath, the way his father's hand had trembled just slightly when he signed the referral paperwork. Graham was 29 years old, and the thought of losing his father made him feel like a child. The lobby was quiet. The receptionist wouldn't arrive for another 20 minutes. Graham liked these early moments when the building felt like it still belonged to him and his dad, before the day filled it with other people's problems and expectations. He stopped walking. A woman sat in one of the waiting chairs near the elevator bank. Young, maybe his age or a little younger. Black woman with her hair pulled back tight, wearing a dark blazer that looked professional but not expensive. She sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead at nothing. Graham felt something cold move through his chest. It wasn't rational. He knew that, even as the feeling hit him. But there was something about the way she held herself, so controlled, so closed off, and the scar. Thin line along her jaw, barely visible unless you were looking. But he was looking. She didn't belong here yet. The interviews weren't supposed to start until 9. Graham pulled out his phone, checked the time. 7:45. This woman had come over an hour early. Why? To scope out the building? To watch who came and went? His father's voice echoed in his memory from last week. "I need someone I can trust, Graham. Someone steady. I'm not getting any younger." Graham's throat tightened. He turned sharply and headed for the executive floor. Richard Hale looked up from his desk when Graham walked in without knocking. His father had the same blue eyes Graham saw in the mirror every morning, but lately they looked tired. The silver in his hair seemed brighter somehow, more present. "You're here early," Richard said. "So is one of your interview candidates." Richard frowned, glanced at his computer screen. "The 9 o'clock? Nia Carter? She's downstairs right now. Been there since at least 7:45. Eager then. That's good." Graham closed the door behind him. "Dad, I saw her. And? And I think you should reconsider." Richard leaned back in his chair. The leather creaked. "Based on what? You haven't even spoken to her." "I don't need to, I can tell." Graham caught himself, tried to find the right words. "She looks, I don't know, hard, closed off, and that scar, a scar means nothing, Graham. It means something happened, something violent maybe, or a car accident, or a fall when she was a kid." Richard's voice was patient, but there was steel underneath. "You're making assumptions." Graham stepped closer to the desk. "Dad, you're vulnerable right now. The doctor said I have high blood pressure and need to lose 15 pounds. That's not a death sentence. You collapsed last month. I got dizzy. Once. And I'm fine now." They'd had this argument before. Graham had learned that pushing too hard just made his father dig in deeper. But this felt different. This felt urgent. "Don't hire her, Dad." Graham heard how the words sounded, harsh, final. He softened his voice. "Please. She looks dangerous." Richard stared at him for a long moment. Then he sighed and rubbed his face with both hands. "You know what I see when I look at you lately," Richard said quietly. "I see someone who's scared, and I understand that. I do. But son, you can't protect me from everything. And you definitely can't judge someone based on how they look when they're sitting in a lobby." I'm not. You are. Richard stood up. Now I'm going to go down there and conduct a professional interview with someone who is qualified enough to make it to the final round, and you're welcome to sit in if you can keep your assumptions to yourself. Graham felt heat rise up his neck. Fine, I'll sit in. Good. Richard grabbed his coffee mug and headed for the door. Graham followed, his stomach tight with frustration and something else, something that felt uncomfortably like shame. Nia Carter had known she was early. She'd planned it that way. She always showed up early to interviews. It gave her time to settle her nerves, to watch the space, to get a feel for the company before she had to perform. And it was always a performance, wasn't it? The careful smile, the measured answers, the way you had to make yourself seem confident but not threatening, capable but not intimidating. She'd learned those lessons the hard way. The lobby was nice, clean, expensive but not flashy. Large windows lit, in natural light. There were plants in the corners that looked real, not plastic. Nia appreciated that. Small detail, but it said something about the people who worked here. She checked her phone. 8:17. Still early, but not absurdly so anymore. Movement caught her eye. Two men emerged from the elevator. The older one she recognized from the website, Richard Hale, the founder. 60 maybe, silver hair, kind face. He smiled when he saw her. The younger one didn't smile. Nia's stomach tightened as recognition clicked into place. Graham Hale, the son. She'd read about him too, though there was less information available. He worked as some kind of operations manager, involved in the business but not running it. Not yet. He was staring at her, not even trying to hide it. Nia stood up smoothly, brushing invisible lint from her skirt. She'd worn her most conservative outfit, black blazer, gray skirt that fell below her knees, simple flats. Her hair pulled back in a bun so tight it made her scalp ache. No jewelry except for the small gold studs in her ears that had been her grandmother's. She looked professional, respectable, safe. But this man, this white man with his expensive suit and his clenched jaw, was looking at her like she'd already done something wrong. Nia knew that look. She'd seen it before. Her mother's voice whispered in her mind, "Don't give them a reason. Keep your head up and don't give them a single reason." "Ms. Carter?" Richard extended his hand as he approached. His handshake was warm, firm. "Thank you for coming in. I'm Richard Hale." "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Hale." Nia's voice came out steady, professional. "Thank you for the opportunity. This is my son Graham. He'll be sitting in on the interview if that's all right with you." Graham's handshake was brief, almost perfunctory. "Ms. Carter." "Mr. Hale." Nia met his eyes directly, just for a second, then looked away. Not submission. Strategy. "Conference room is this way," Richard said, gesturing toward the hallway. Nia followed, aware of Graham walking slightly behind her. She could feel his stare on her back like heat. Don't give them a reason. The conference room had windows overlooking the street below. Morning traffic moved in slow streams. Nia took the seat Richard indicated, keeping her back straight, her hands folded on the table. Graham sat across from her. Richard sat at the head of the table between them. "So," Richard began, opening a folder with her resume inside. "You've been working as an administrative assistant for the past 3 years at Morrison Legal. Can you tell me why you're looking to make a change?" Standard question. Nia had practiced her answer. "Morrison Legal gave me excellent experience in a fast-paced environment, but I'm looking for an opportunity to grow with a company long-term. Hale Industries has a strong reputation, and the executive assistant position would allow me to use my skills in a more strategic capacity." Richard nodded. "You'd be working directly with me, but also coordinating frequently with other departments. How do you handle conflict between different priorities?" "I believe in clear communication," Nia said. "When priorities conflict, I try to understand the needs behind each request, then work with all parties to find a solution that serves the company's goals. If that's not possible, I escalate to the appropriate decision-maker with all the relevant information." "Can you give me an example of a time you had to do that?" Nia walked him through a situation from her previous job, a scheduling conflict between 2 senior partners. She kept her answer concise, focused on her actions and the results. Richard asked more questions about her technical skills, her experience with calendar management, travel coordination, meeting preparation. Nia answered each one calmly, professionally. Graham didn't ask anything. He just watched her with those cold blue eyes. Naya felt her jaw tighten but kept her expression neutral. She'd dealt with worse than a suspicious rich kid who thought she didn't belong here. "Ms. Carter," Richard said, "I have to ask about the gap in your employment, 4 months between your previous position and Morrison Legal." There it was. Nia had known it would come up. It always did. "I was let go from my previous position," she said evenly. "There was an accusation made against me that turned out to be false, but by the time that was clear, the damage was done. I spent those months looking for a new position and working temporary jobs to stay afloat." "What was the accusation?" Nia's heart kicked against her ribs. She kept her voice calm. "Theft. Office equipment went missing and I was blamed. Security footage eventually proved I wasn't involved, but the company decided not to bring me back. They said trust had been compromised." Richard's expression remained kind. "That must have been difficult." "It was," Nia said quietly, "but I learned a lot about resilience and about the importance of integrity, especially when it's being questioned." Graham leaned forward slightly. "How do we know you're telling the truth?" The question landed like a slap. Richard turned to his son. "Graham, it's a fair question," Nia said, though her voice had gone cold. She looked directly at Graham for the first time since the interview began. "You don't know. You can call Morrison Legal and ask about my work there. You can check my references, or you can decide based on your gut feeling that I'm lying. That's your choice." Something flickered in Graham's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or anger. Richard cleared his throat. "I think we have enough information for now. Ms. Carter, do you have any questions for us?" Nia had a dozen questions, but looking at Graham's face, she wasn't sure she wanted this job anymore. Still, she needed it. Rent was due in 2 weeks. Her car needed new tires. She couldn't afford pride. "What would you say is the most important quality you're looking for in whoever fills this role?" she asked. Richard smiled. "Honestly, someone who can handle pressure without losing their center, someone steady." "I can be steady," Nia said. "I believe you." Richard stood up, wincing slightly as he did. "If you'll excuse me for just a moment, I need to grab some water. Graham, why don't you—" Richard stopped mid-sentence. His face went pale. "Dad?" Graham stood up quickly. Richard put a hand on the table, steadying himself. "I'm fine, just a little—" His knees buckled. Graham lunged forward, but Nia was faster. She was around the table in 3 steps, catching Richard's arm as he started to fall. She guided him down to sitting on the floor, supporting his weight with surprising strength. "Mr. Hale, can you hear me?" Nia's voice was calm, clear, all business now. "Can you tell me your name?" Richard's eyes were unfocused. Yes?" "Richard. My name is Richard." "Good. That's good." Nia looked up at Graham, who stood frozen, his face white. "Call 911 now." Graham fumbled for his phone. Nia kept her hand on Richard's shoulder, her other hand finding his wrist to check his pulse. Fast, too fast. "Mr. Hale, are you having any chest pain?" "No, just dizzy. Hot." "Okay. Can you take a slow breath for me?" Richard tried, managed it. Nia heard Graham talking to the emergency dispatcher, his voice shaking. She tuned him out, focused on Richard. "You're doing great," she said quietly. "Help is coming. Just stay with me, okay? Keep breathing." Richard's eyes found hers. He nodded weakly. Nia had done first aid training when she worked at her previous job. Before everything fell apart, she'd never actually had to use it for something real. But her hands knew what to do. Check responsiveness, check breathing, keep the person calm. "They said 2 minutes," Graham said from somewhere behind her. His voice sounded very far away. "Okay." Nia didn't look at him. "Mr. Hale, the ambulance is almost here. You're going to be fine." She didn't know if that was true, but sometimes people needed to hear it anyway. Richard's hand found hers and squeezed. "Thank you," he whispered. The sirens seemed to take forever, but later Graham would learn it had only been 4 minutes from the 911 call to the moment the paramedics came through the conference room door. 4 minutes of watching this woman, this stranger he'd judged, this person he'd called dangerous, keep his father conscious and calm. The paramedics took over smoothly. They asked questions, checked vitals, loaded Richard onto a stretcher. One of them, a young guy with kind eyes, turned to Nia. "You did good," he said. "Kept him stable. That matters." Nia just nodded. Graham followed the stretcher out into the hallway, vaguely aware of other employees appearing from various offices drawn by the commotion. Someone asked what happened. Graham didn't answer. In the ambulance, bay, as they loaded Richard into the back, his father reached out. "Graham," Richard's voice was weak but clear. "She stays. Dad, don't worry about that now. Promise me, she gets the job. She stays." Graham looked back toward the building. Nia stood in the doorway, her arms wrapped around herself, watching. "I promise," Graham said. The ambulance doors closed. Graham watched the lights disappear down the street, and then he turned back to face the woman he'd tried to keep his father from hiring, the woman who'd just saved his father's life. Shame was a living thing in his chest now, hot and choking. Nia met his eyes across the parking lot. Her expression was unreadable. Graham walked toward her slowly. Every step felt heavy. "Thank you," he said when he reached her. The words felt completely inadequate. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't." "You should go to the hospital," Nia said quietly. "Be with your father." Can you come?" "He'd want you there." Nia hesitated, then nodded once. "I'll follow you." The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. Graham sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, his elbows on his knees, his head in his hands. Nia sat 3 chairs away, her posture still perfect, her expression still carefully neutral. An hour passed. A doctor finally emerged and called Graham's name. "Your father had a cardiac event," the doctor explained. "Not a full heart attack, but close. We're running more tests, but it looks like his blood pressure medication needs to be adjusted, and there are some lifestyle changes we need to discuss. He's stable now. Resting." Relief flooded through Graham so intensely he felt dizzy. "Can I see him?" "Soon. He's asking for both of you, actually." The doctor glanced at Nia. "Are you family?" "No," Nia said. "I should go." "Dad asked for you," Graham said. "Please." Nia looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood. Richard looked small in the hospital bed. Too small. Graham hated seeing his father like this, vulnerable, attached to monitors, his skin too pale against the white sheets. But Richard's eyes were alert when they walked in. He even managed a weak smile. "They tell me I gave everyone a scare," Richard said. "You could say that." Graham tried to keep his voice light, but it came out rough. Richard's gaze shifted to Nia. "Ms. Carter, thank you doesn't seem like enough. I'm just glad you're okay, Mr. Hale." "Richard, please." Nia nodded but didn't repeat his name. "I meant what I said in the ambulance," Richard continued, looking at Graham now. "The job is hers if she wants it. And Graham, you're going to work with her, directly. Show her everything she needs to know." Graham swallowed. "Dad, maybe we should discuss." "No discussion. I trust her. I need you to trust her too." Richard's voice was firm despite his exhaustion. "Can you do that for me?" What could Graham say? No, after what had just happened? "Yes," Graham said quietly. Richard turned back to Nia. "So what do you say, Ms. Carter? Do you still want to work for a company where the boss collapses during your interview?" Nia's lips twitched, almost a smile. "The pay is still the same as we discussed?" "Same pay, better insurance after today. And you start Monday if you're willing." Graham watched Nia's face, saw the calculation happening behind her eyes. She needed this job, he could tell. But she didn't trust them, didn't trust him. He didn't blame her. "I'll take it," Nia said finally. "Thank you, Richard." This time she used his name. "Good. Now both of you get out of here. I need to sleep, and Graham, you look like you're about to pass out." Graham realized he was swaying slightly. When had he last eaten? Yesterday? They left Richard's room together, walking side by side down the hospital corridor. At the elevator, Graham turned to her. "I owe you an apology," he said. Nia looked at him, waited. "What I said this morning, to my dad, about you, it was wrong, completely wrong. I judged you based on nothing but my own fear, and that's not... I'm sorry." "Okay," Nia said, "just that. Okay. No acceptance, no forgiveness, just acknowledgement." The elevator arrived. They stepped in. "I know you probably don't trust me," Graham continued, "and I understand why, but I'm going to try to make this work, for my dad's sake, and because you deserve better than what I gave you this morning." Nia stared at the elevator numbers as they descended. "Your father almost died today." I know. And you were scared. I understand that. She finally looked at him. But here's what you need to understand, Mr. Hale. I've been judged my whole life by people who decided who I was before I opened my mouth. I'm used to it. I'm good at dealing with it. But I won't accept it from someone I have to work with every day. I won't. Let me finish. Her voice was calm but unyielding. If we're going to work together, you need to actually see me, not what you think I am, me. Can you do that? Graham met her eyes. I'll try. Trying isn't good enough. Then yes, Graham said, I can do that. Naya studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Okay. The elevator doors opened. They stepped out into the lobby together, and Graham felt the weight of everything that had happened settling onto his shoulders. His father was sick. This woman had saved him, and Graham had tried to keep her away because of a scar and a feeling. He had a lot to prove now. Nia sat in her car in the hospital parking lot for 10 minutes before starting the engine. Her hands were shaking, finally shaking, now that no one could see. She'd held it together in the conference room, held it together in the ambulance bay, in the waiting room, in Richard's hospital room. She'd been calm, professional, steady. But now, alone, the adrenaline was leaving her system and taking her composure. With it, a man had almost died right in front of her. She'd helped him, kept him stable, done everything right. And his son, that arrogant, judgmental son, had apologized. Nia didn't know what to do with any of it. Her phone buzzed, her mother. Hey, Mama, Nia answered, trying to keep her voice normal. How'd the interview go, baby? Nia closed her eyes. I got the job. That's wonderful. Oh, Nia, I'm so proud of you. The boss collapsed during the interview. I helped him until the ambulance came. That's why he hired me. Silence on the other end. Then, are you okay? I'm fine. Nia Marie Carter, don't lie to your mother. A laugh bubbled up, surprising Nia with its force. I'm shaken up, but I'm okay, really. Is this a good place? These people? Are they going to treat you right? Nia thought about Graham's face in the elevator, the shame in his eyes, the way he'd admitted what he'd said about her. Most people didn't admit things like that. I don't know yet, Nia said honestly, but I'm going to find out. She drove home as the sun climbed higher, turning the city gold. Tomorrow was Saturday. Sunday she'd prepare, and Monday she'd walk into Hale Industries as their new executive assistant. She'd worked hard for this. She deserved this, and she wasn't going to let anyone, not Graham Hale, not anyone, make her doubt that. Graham made it home sometime after 8 that evening. He'd stayed at the hospital until Richard's sister arrived from Vermont, then finally left when his father threatened to have him removed by security if he didn't go eat something and sleep. His apartment was dark and quiet. He flipped on lights, dropped his keys on the counter, and stood in the kitchen staring at nothing. The refrigerator hummed. Traffic sounds drifted up from the street below. Graham replayed the day in his mind. The moment he'd seen Nia in the lobby, the certainty he'd felt that she was wrong, dangerous, someone to keep away from his father, the way she'd moved when Richard collapsed, no hesitation, just action. He'd frozen, completely frozen, and she'd saved his father's life. Graham pulled out his phone and opened his messages, scrolled to Tessa's name, his ex-girlfriend. They'd broken up 8 months ago, but she still texted sometimes, checking in, seeing if he'd changed his mind. He deleted her last message without reading it. Then he opened his laptop and pulled up Nia Carter's resume. Read through it carefully this time, actually paying attention instead of looking for reasons to disqualify her. Good education, solid work history, except for that gap. References that checked out. He'd had HR verify them before the interview. There was nothing in this resume that justified what he'd said to his father this morning. Nothing except his own fear. Graham closed the laptop and went to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. He lay in the dark thinking about Monday, about working directly with someone he'd wronged. Before even meeting her, he'd told her he could see her. Actually, see her. He hoped that was true, because if today had taught him anything, it was that his judgment was worth exactly nothing. Monday morning arrived cool and bright. Nia dressed in another conservative outfit, navy blazer, cream blouse, black slacks, professional armor. She'd learned years ago that appearance mattered, especially in the first days of a new job, Her mother had called twice over the weekend. "Just be careful, baby," Evelyn had said yesterday. "Watch for the signs. If it feels wrong, you leave. Promise me." Nia had promised. But standing in the Hale Industries lobby now, watching the building fill with employees, she didn't feel wrong. She felt nervous, yes, uncertain, but not unsafe. Not yet. "Ms. Carter," Nia turned to find an older white woman approaching, mid-40s maybe, blonde hair in a tight bun, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm Darla Finch, office manager. Welcome to Hale Industries." The words were welcoming. The tone was not. "Thank you," Nia said carefully. "I'll show you to your desk. Richard, Mr. Hale, asked me to get you started while he's still recovering." "How is he?" "Resting at home. He'll be back in a few days." Darla started walking, and Nia followed. "Your desk is in the executive suite, right outside Richard's office. Graham's office is down the hall, but he'll be working with you directly for the next few weeks. Training purposes." They took the elevator to the top floor. The executive suite was beautiful. More windows, better furniture, actual art on the walls instead of corporate posters. Nia's desk was indeed right outside Richard's office. Large workspace, 2 monitors already set up, a phone with more buttons than she knew what to do with. "Computer login information is here." Darla handed her a folder. "Building access card, employee handbook, parking pass for the garage, level 3. Any questions?" "About 1,000, Nia thought. She said, "I'm sure I'll have some as I get started." "Well, I'm on the 2nd floor if you need me." Darla's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Good luck." She left before Nia could respond. Nia set her bag down slowly and looked around. The office was already busy. People walking past, phones ringing, the hum of productivity. No one paid attention to her. New person in the executive suite. Not that interesting. She logged into her computer and started reading through the employee handbook, trying to look like she knew what she was doing. "Morning." Nia looked up. Graham stood a few feet away, holding 2 cups of coffee. He looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes, but he was dressed professionally, and his expression was careful, like he was trying very hard not to mess this up. "Morning," Nia said. "I brought coffee. Wasn't sure how you take it, so I got cream and sugar on the side." He set 1 cup on her desk along with several packets. "Thank you." Graham pulled up a chair. "So, first day. How are you feeling?" "Fine." "Nervous?" Nia looked at him directly. "Should I be?" "No," Graham said quickly. "No, I just meant new job. It's natural to be nervous." Nia fixed her coffee, 2 creams, no sugar, and took a sip. "What's the plan for today?" Graham seemed relieved to move into business mode. "I'm going to walk you through my dad's schedule system, his priorities, how he likes things organized. Then we'll go over the current projects you'll need to track. After lunch, I'll introduce you to the department heads you'll be coordinating with." "Sounds good." They worked for 3 hours straight. Graham was thorough, patient. He explained things clearly, checked to make sure she understood before moving on. Nia took careful notes, asked questions when she needed to. It was almost easy to forget what had happened Friday. Almost. But every so often, she'd catch Graham looking at her with something in his expression, guilt maybe, or uncertainty, and she'd remember. He'd called her dangerous, had tried to talk his father out of hiring her, and now he was training her, being polite, bringing her coffee. Nia didn't trust it yet, didn't trust him, but she was willing to see what happened next. At noon, Graham suggested they grab lunch in the building cafeteria. Nia agreed, following him down to the 2nd floor where the smell of coffee and grilled food filled the air. The cafeteria was crowded. Nia got a salad, Graham got a sandwich. They found a table by the window. "How's your father doing?" Nia asked. "Better, complaining about bed rest, which the doctor says is a good sign." Graham smiled slightly. "He wanted me to thank you again. I think he would have called you himself, but I made him promise to actually rest." "I'm glad he's okay." They ate in silence for a moment. Then Graham said, "Can I ask you something?" Nia looked up warily. "Depends on what it is." "That gap in your employment, the accusation. Do you know who did it? Made the false report?" Nia's jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" I'm trying to understand what you went through, so I don't—" He stopped, searching for words. "So I don't make assumptions again." Nia set down her fork. "I have a guess who did it. Woman I worked with. She'd been there 5 years, thought she deserved the promotion I got instead, but I never had proof, and by the time security footage cleared me, everyone had already decided who I was. The company asked me to leave quietly, said it would be better for everyone. That's not right. No, Nia agreed. It wasn't. Did you fight it? I thought about it, but I needed to find another job, not spend months in a legal battle I probably couldn't afford. Nia picked up her fork again. Sometimes you just have to move forward, even when it's not fair. Graham was quiet for a moment. Then, I almost did the same thing to you. Made you leave before you even started, based on nothing. But you didn't, Nia said quietly. Your father stopped you. Yeah, Graham's voice was rough. He did. They finished lunch without saying much else, but something had shifted slightly, a small crack in the wall between them. It wasn't trust, not yet, but maybe it was the beginning of something that could become trust, given enough time. The afternoon brought department head introductions. Graham walked Nia through the second floor, stopping at various offices and cubicles, operations, finance, marketing, human resources. Every introduction followed the same pattern. Graham would explain her role, the person would shake her hand and smile politely, and Nia would file away their name and function for later. Most people seemed nice enough, professional, welcoming, in that surface-level way office workers had. But Nia noticed things. The way Darla Finch appeared in doorways whenever they passed, watching. The slight pause before some people shook her hand, like they were making a decision first. The woman in marketing who looked her up and down before smiling, taking in every detail of Nia's outfit, her hair, her face. Nia kept her expression pleasant and neutral. She'd done this before. The new person, the black woman in a mostly white office. You smiled, you stayed professional, you proved yourself through work. Last stop, Graham said, leading her toward a corner office. Trevor Martinez, head of product development. He works closely with my dad on new initiatives. Trevor was maybe 40, Latino, with warm brown eyes and an easy smile. He stood up when they entered, coming around his desk to shake Nia's hand. Welcome aboard, he said, and his voice sounded genuinely friendly. Richard told me what happened during your interview. That was incredible, what you did. I just did what anyone would do, Nia said. Not everyone knows how to stay calm in a crisis. Trust me, I've seen people fall apart over much smaller things. Trevor leaned against his desk. If you need anything, documents, project updates, whatever, just let me know. I promise I'm easier to work with than I look. Nia smiled, and this time it felt real. I'll remember that. As they left Trevor's office, Graham said quietly, He's good people. One of the few around here who actually means what he says. Unlike who? Nia asked. Graham glanced at her, then away. Just keep your guard up with Darla. She's territorial. Has been ever since Dad brought me into management. She'll smile to your face, but watch your back. Thanks for the warning. They returned to the executive suite. It was nearly 4 o'clock now. Nia's head was full of names and procedures and passwords. She felt like she'd run a marathon. You did good today, Graham said as they reached her desk. I know it's a lot to take in. I'll manage. I don't doubt it. He hesitated, then said, Listen, I'm going to head out early to check on my dad. Will you be okay finishing? Up here. You can leave whenever you want. First day, no one expects you to stay late. I'll be fine. Tell your father I hope he's feeling better. I will. Graham left and Nia sat alone at her new desk, listening to the office sounds around her. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, low voices in conversation. She pulled out her notebook and started making lists, things to remember, people to watch out for, questions to ask tomorrow. Her phone buzzed, text from her mother. How was day 1, baby? Nia typed back, survived. That's something. Proud of you. Come for dinner Sunday? I'll be there. Nia put her phone away and kept working, organizing her space, familiarizing herself with the computer systems. The office slowly emptied around her. By 6, only a handful of people remained. She was about to shut down her computer when Darla appeared in her peripheral vision. Burning the midnight oil already? Darla's voice was light, but there was something sharp underneath. Just getting organized, Nia said. Word of advice? Darla stepped closer. Don't try too hard. New people who come in acting like they own the place tend not to last long around here. Naya looked at her steadily. I'm not trying to own anything, just doing my job. Darla's smile was thin. Well, Richard has a way of seeing people through rose-colored glasses, but the rest of us have been here longer. We know how things really work. She walked away before Nia could respond. Nia sat very still for a moment, processing. Then she packed up her things and left. In her car, she sat with her hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. One day down. She could do this. She'd handled worse. She drove home through rush-hour traffic, exhaustion settling into her bones. Her apartment was small, one bedroom in an older building, nothing fancy, but it was hers. Safe. Quiet. Nia changed into comfortable clothes, made herself dinner, and tried not to think about Darla's warning, tried not to think about Graham's guilt-heavy politeness or the way some people had looked at her today. She'd proven herself before. She could do it again. Graham found his father in the living room, reading a book with his feet propped up. Richard looked better, more color in his face, less exhaustion around his eyes. You're supposed to be resting, Graham said. I am resting. I'm sitting down, aren't I? Richard set the book aside. How'd Nia's first day go? Good. She's sharp, picked everything up quickly. I knew she would. Richard studied his son's face. How are you doing with it? Graham sat down in the armchair across from his father. I'm trying. Brought her coffee this morning, gave her the full tour, tried to be not an ass. That's a start. Dad, I need to ask you something. Graham leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Why did you insist she work directly with me? You could have had HR handle the training. Richard was quiet for a moment. Then, he said, because you needed to see what I saw. Which is someone who acts without hesitation when it matters, someone who doesn't let fear make her decisions. Richard's voice was gentle but firm. You've been afraid since my first health scare, Graham. I understand that. But fear makes us small, makes us see threats where there aren't any. Graham looked at his hands. I saw her scar and decided she was dangerous. That's not just fear, Dad. That's prejudice, Richard said quietly. Yes, it is. But son, the fact that you recognize that now, that you're trying to do better, that matters. Does it? I already hurt her. First day we met before she even had a chance. So now you do the work of proving you're more than that first impression. Same thing you're asking her to do with you. Richard picked up his book again. Trust isn't built in a day, Graham. It's built in moments, small choices. Show up and do better tomorrow than you did today. That's all any of us can do. Graham stayed for dinner. His father's housekeeper made soup and insisted Graham eat 2 bowls. They talked about the business, about Richard's doctor's appointments scheduled for later in the week, about nothing particularly important. But when Graham left, driving through the darkening streets toward his apartment, his father's words circled in his mind. Trust is built in moments. He wanted to believe that was possible. The next few days developed a rhythm. Naya arrived early each morning, before the office filled with people. She liked those quiet moments, time to organize her thoughts, review Richard's schedule, prepare for the day. Graham arrived around 8, usually with coffee for both of them. They'd spend the morning working through various tasks and procedures. He taught her the peculiarities of Richard's preferences, how he liked meetings scheduled, which vendors he trusted, the specific way he wanted travel arrangements handled. Naya absorbed it all, taking careful notes, asking questions when things weren't clear. Graham was patient, professional. He didn't bring up Friday again, didn't apologize anymore. Just worked alongside her, treating her like a colleague. It should have felt normal. But there was still tension there, invisible but present, like they were both being careful not to say the wrong thing. On Wednesday morning, Naya arrived to find an email waiting. A meeting request from someone named Thomas Chen in finance. Subject line, budget review. She checked Richard's calendar. Nothing conflicted. Graham, she called across the suite. He appeared in her doorway moments later. What's up? Should I accept this meeting request for Richard? Budget review with finance? Graham frowned. Let me see. He came around to look at her screen, and Naya was suddenly very aware of how close he was standing. She could smell his cologne, something subtle, probably expensive. That's weird, Graham said. Dad never does budget. Reviews this time of quarter. Can you forward it to me? Nia did. Graham returned to his office and she heard him making a phone call. 10 minutes later, he came back. It was a mistake. Thomas meant to send it to operations. You can decline it. Okay? But when Nia went to decline the meeting, the request had already disappeared from her inbox, deleted. She frowned, checked her trash folder. Not there either. Graham, she called again. He reappeared. Yeah? The meeting request is gone. Did you delete it? No, I just called Thomas to clarify. Why would I delete something from your inbox? I don't know, but it's gone. They both stared at her computer screen. Then Graham pulled out his phone and called IT. Hey, this is Graham Hale. Can you check if there's been any access to Nia Carter's email besides her own login? Yeah, I'll hold. Nia watched his face as he waited, saw it tighten with something that looked like anger. Are you sure? Okay, no, that's all I needed. Thanks. He hung up and looked at Nia. Someone accessed your email from a different computer about 5 minutes ago. Darla Finch's workstation. Nia's stomach went cold. Why would she? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Graham's voice was hard now, no longer careful. Stay here. He left before Nia could respond. She sat at her desk, hands shaking slightly. This was it. The thing her mother had warned her about, the signs that something was wrong. But Graham was handling it, actually handling it, not ignoring it or making excuses. Nia didn't know what to do with that. 15 minutes later, Graham returned with Darla following behind. The office manager's face was flushed, her mouth pressed into a thin line. Ms. Carter, Darla said stiffly, I apologize for accessing your email without permission. I was trying to help manage the request overload, but I should have asked first. The words sounded rehearsed, insincere. Thank you for the apology, Nia said carefully. Darla nodded once and left without another word. Graham waited until she was gone, then said quietly, That won't happen again. I've asked IT to restrict access to your inbox. Only you and my dad will be able to see it now. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Graham met her eyes. You're trying to do your job. You shouldn't have to worry about someone sabotaging you, not here. Something in Nia's chest loosened slightly. Thank you. You're welcome. He returned to his office and Nia sat staring at her computer screen, processing what had just happened. Graham had believed her, hadn't questioned whether she was overreacting or imagining things, had just acted. It was such a small thing, but it mattered. Trust is built in moments, Richard had said. Maybe he was right. Thursday afternoon, Richard returned to the office. Nia heard the commotion first, people greeting him in the hallway, welcoming him back. Then his voice, warm and booming, thanking everyone. He appeared in the executive suite looking thinner than Nia remembered, but his smile was genuine. Ms. Carter, how are you settling in? Welcome back, Richard. Nia stood up. I'm settling in well. How are you feeling? Better every day. Doctors cleared me for light duty, which apparently means I'm supposed to sit at my desk and not do anything strenuous. We'll see how long that lasts. He winked. Graham been treating you well? Yes, he's been very helpful. Richard nodded, satisfied. Good. Let's do a quick catch-up. Bring me up to speed on what I've missed. They spent an hour going through the week's events, priorities, upcoming meetings. Richard listened carefully, asking questions, making notes. Nia had prepared a summary document, and she could tell he appreciated the thoroughness. You've done excellent work, Richard said when they finished. I'm glad you're here, Ms. Carter. Nia, she said. Please call me Nia. Richard smiled. Nia, then. And you've been calling me Richard, which I appreciate. Never did like all that Mr. Hale formality. Makes me feel ancient. Graham appeared in the doorway. Dad, you're supposed to be taking it easy. I am taking it easy. I'm sitting down. Richard gestured at his chair. How much easier can I take it? You know what the doctor said. Yes, yes. Light duty, no stress, plenty of rest. Richard waved a hand dismissively. I'm not made of glass, Graham. Could have fooled me last Friday. The words came out sharper than Graham probably intended. Richard's expression softened. Son, I'm fine, I promise, but I appreciate the concern. He stood up carefully. Now I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the office, let people see I'm alive, and then I'll go home and rest like a good patient. Satisfied? Graham sighed. Yeah, satisfied. After Richard left on his tour, Graham lingered in the doorway. He's stubborn. So are you, Naya said. Graham blinked, surprised. Then he laughed. A real laugh, not the careful, polite sounds he'd been making all week. Yeah, I guess I am. It's not a bad thing. Stubbornness can be useful. Is that what you tell yourself? Nia looked at him. Every day. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Recognition that they were both fighting battles the other couldn't fully see. Listen, Graham said, there's a small event tomorrow night. Networking thing with some of our key clients. Dad was planning to attend, but the doctor says he should skip it. I need to go, and it would be helpful to have you there. Taking notes, handling logistics, that kind of thing. Would you be willing? Nia hesitated. A formal event meant being visible. Being judged not just on her work, but on how she looked, how she carried herself, whether she fit. But it was also an opportunity to prove herself beyond the desk. What's the dress code? She asked. Business formal. It's at the Riverside Club, starts at 7. I can pick you up. I'll meet you there, Nia said quickly. Graham nodded. Okay, I'll text you the details. Friday evening, Nia stood in front of her closet staring at her limited options. She had 2 formal dresses, one black, one navy, both conservative, both professional. She chose the navy. It had sleeves, a modest neckline, and fell just below her knees. She paired it with simple black heels and the pearl earrings that had been her grandmother's. Her mother called while she was getting ready. How's the week been, baby? Busy. Good, I think. Nia tilted her phone so her mother could see the dress. I have a work event tonight. Does this look okay? You look beautiful, but you always do. Evelyn's smile faded slightly. Are they treating you right? Really? Nia thought about Graham bringing coffee every morning, about him confronting Darla, about Richard's genuine warmth. Yeah, Mama, I think they are. You think, or you know? I'm working on knowing. Evelyn nodded slowly. Just promise me you'll be careful. Keep your eyes open. I promise. Nia arrived at the Riverside Club at 6:55. The building was old money beautiful. Stone facade, elegant lighting, a doorman who nodded politely as she entered. Inside, the event space was already filling with people in expensive suits and cocktail dresses. Nia felt a familiar tightness in her chest. She didn't belong here. Everyone would know it, but she lifted her chin and walked in anyway. Graham spotted her almost immediately. He was standing near the bar, talking to an older couple, but his eyes found hers across the room. He excused himself and came over. You made it, he said. Said I would. You look nice. Nia glanced at him. He'd said it simply, like a statement of fact, not a line. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. Graham was wearing a dark suit that fit him perfectly, a crisp white shirt, a blue tie that brought out his eyes. He looked like he belonged here, confident, comfortable, at ease. Come on, he said. I'll introduce you to some people. The next hour was a blur of names and handshakes. Graham stayed close, always making sure to introduce her role, to include her in conversations. Some people were friendly, others were politely dismissive, their eyes sliding past her after a brief greeting. Nia kept her professional smile in place and took mental notes about who was who seemed important, who Graham spent more time talking to. You're good at this, Graham said during a quiet moment. At what? Reading the room, knowing who matters. Survival skill, Nia said. Then, realizing how that sounded, she added, I mean, you learn to pay attention. Notice things. Graham looked like he wanted to ask more, but someone called his name. He excused himself, and Nia found herself standing alone near one of the tall windows overlooking the river. You must be the new assistant. Nia turned. A woman stood beside her, early. 30s, white, with perfectly styled blonde hair, and a red dress that probably cost more than Nia's monthly rent. She was beautiful in that polished, intimidating way some women mastered. I'm Nia Carter, Nia said, extending her hand. The woman's handshake was brief, dismissive. Tessa Vaughn. I'm a friend of the Hale family. She looked Nia up and down slowly. I heard about what happened during your interview. Richard had a health scare, yes. Must have been quite dramatic. Graham hates dramatic situations. Something in Tessa's tone made Nia's shoulders tense. It wasn't dramatic. It was serious. Of course. Tessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure you were very helpful. Graham mentioned you used to work at a law firm? That's right. Interesting career trajectory. Law to corporate assistance. Tessa sipped her wine. I'm in investment banking myself. Much more challenging work, but I suppose not everyone has the stomach for high-pressure environments. Nia recognized this game. She'd played it before with women who felt threatened by her presence, who needed to establish dominance through subtle insults. I find I have the stomach for whatever matters most, Nia said evenly. Right now, that's making sure Richard has the support he needs. How noble. Tessa's expression hardened slightly. Word of advice? The Hales are a good family. Old money, good reputation. They don't need complications. I'm not a complication. I'm an employee. Are you? Tessa's eyes flickered toward Graham, who was still across the room. Because Graham has a tendency to confuse compassion with something else, especially with people he feels guilty about. The words landed like a slap. I should get back to work, Nia said quietly. Yes, you should. Nia walked away before she said something she'd regret. Her heart was pounding. Her hands wanted to shake, but she kept them steady. She found a quiet corner and pulled out her phone, pretending to check messages, breathing slowly, not giving anyone the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. Graham appeared beside her minutes later. Hey, everything okay? Fine. You sure? You look... I said I'm fine. The words came out harder than Nia intended. She took a breath. Sorry, just needed a minute. Graham looked around the room, his gaze settling on Tessa, who was watching them from across the space. His jaw tightened. What did she say to you? Nothing important. Nia, she looked at him directly. She told me your family doesn't need complications, that you confuse compassion with something else, that I should know my place. Graham's expression went cold in a way Nia hadn't seen before. Stay here. Graham, don't. But he was already walking toward Tessa. Nia watched from a distance as Graham pulled Tessa aside, speaking to her in low, intense tones. Tessa's face went from smug to shocked to angry. She said something sharp. Graham responded firmly, then walked away while she was still talking. He came back to Nia, his jaw still tight. I'm sorry. That was completely inappropriate. It's not your fault. She had no right to speak to you that way. No right to make assumptions or threats. Threats? Graham ran a hand through his hair. Tessa and I dated for 2 years. We broke up 8 months ago. She's been persistent about getting back together. I should have been clearer with her that it wasn't going to happen. And now you have been? Yeah, very clear. He looked at Nia. I told her to leave you alone, that you're here because you're good at your job, not because of anything else, and that she needs to respect that, or stay away from my father's business. Nia didn't know what to say. Men didn't usually defend her like this, didn't confront their exes or risk social awkwardness on her behalf. Thank you, she said finally. You don't need to thank me. You shouldn't have to deal with that garbage. They stood in silence for a moment. The party continued around them, but Nia felt separate from it now, separate and strangely safe, standing next to this man who judged her so harshly a week ago, but was defending her now. You want to get out of here? Graham asked quietly. Don't you need to stay? Network? I've networked enough, and honestly, I could use some air that doesn't smell like expensive cologne and superiority complexes. Nia smiled despite herself. Okay. They left together, stepping out into the cool evening. The river reflected city lights, turning the water into liquid gold. There's a food truck down the street that makes amazing tacos, Graham said. You hungry? Starving, actually. They walked to the food truck, a bright yellow vehicle with a handwritten menu and a line of people waiting. Graham ordered in passable Spanish, making the owner laugh at something Nia didn't catch. They took their food to a nearby bench overlooking the river. Nia bit into her taco and nearly groaned. Okay, this is incredible. Told you, Graham grinned. I found this place my first week working at Dad's company. Used to come here for lunch when the office felt too stuffy. Does it still? Feel too stuffy? Sometimes. He was quiet for a moment. My dad built that company from nothing. Started in his garage, worked his way up, created something real. And I'm proud of that. Proud of him. But sometimes I wonder if I'm actually good at this or if I'm just coasting on his name. Nia looked at him, surprised by the honesty. You're good at it. You've known me a week. And I've seen you work. You're patient, thorough. You care about getting things right. That matters more than being naturally talented. Graham met her eyes. Is that another thing you tell yourself? Every day, Nia said softly. They finished eating in comfortable silence. The night air was cool but not cold. Somewhere nearby, music drifted from a bar, something slow and jazzy. Can I ask you something? Graham said. Depends on the question. That gap in your employment, the woman you think reported you, do you ever wish you'd fought harder, demanded proof, made them investigate properly? Nia watched the river move. Every day for the first month. But fighting would have meant admitting I cared what they thought, that their opinion of me mattered more than my own knowledge of the truth. That's a hard way to live. Yeah, Nia wrapped her arms around herself. But it's honest. I know who I am. I know what I did and didn't do. Some days, that has to be enough. Graham nodded slowly. I judged you in about 30 seconds, made a complete decision about who you were based on nothing but my own fear. And I've spent this whole week trying to figure out how to apologize for that in a way that actually means something. You already apologized. I said the words, but I don't know if I showed you that I meant them, that I'm actually different than the person who said those things. Nia turned to look at him. You confronted your ex for me tonight. You set up email protection so Darla couldn't sabotage me. You bring me coffee every morning and explain things twice if I don't understand the first time. You're showing me, Graham. Every day this week you've been showing me. Something in Graham's expression cracked open. Relief, maybe. Or gratitude. I want to do better, he said quietly. Not just with you, in general. I want to be the kind of person who sees people clearly instead of through my own assumptions. That's a good goal. Yeah? Yeah. Nia smiled slightly. It's working so far. They walked back toward the parking lot slowly, neither in a hurry to end the evening. At Nia's car, Graham paused. Thank you for coming tonight, and for this, talking. Thank you for the tacos, he laughed. Best part of the evening, honestly. Nia unlocked her car, then looked back at him. See you Monday? See you Monday. She drove home with the windows down, letting the night air clear her head. The week had been exhausting, challenging, but also hopeful. Maybe that was the right word. Nia parked in her building's lot and sat for a moment, thinking about Graham's face when he'd confronted Tessa, the way he'd stood up for her without hesitation, the way he'd admitted his own doubts and fears, making himself vulnerable. It didn't erase what he'd said that first day, but it was something, a start, and maybe starts were all anyone ever really got. Monday morning arrived with rain. Nia sat in her car in the parking garage, watching water stream down the windshield, trying to gather her courage. The weekend had been quiet. She'd gone to her mother's for Sunday dinner as promised. Evelyn had made pot roast and cornbread, and they'd sat at the small kitchen table, talking about everything except work. But when Nia got up to leave, her mother had grabbed her hand. You seem lighter, Evelyn had said. Less worried. Than you've been. Maybe I am? That's good, baby. Just don't forget to protect yourself, even when things feel safe. Nia had promised, but sitting here now, about to walk into another week of proving herself, she wondered if safety and vigilance could exist in the same space. She grabbed her umbrella and headed inside. The office was already busy despite the early hour. Nia made it to her desk and found a note waiting, Richard's handwriting on company letterhead. Nia, doctor cleared me for normal duties. Let's meet at 9 to discuss upcoming projects. Thank you for holding things together while I was out. Nia smiled and tucked the note into her drawer. She powered up her computer and started reviewing Richard's calendar. Graham appeared at 8:15 with 2 cups of coffee. His hair was damp from the rain. Morning, he said, setting 1 cup on her desk. How was your weekend? Quiet. Yours? Caught up on sleep. Checked on Dad about 6 times until he threatened to block my number. Graham smiled slightly. Pretty standard. They worked through the morning routine, emails, scheduling, project updates. It felt normal now. Easy, almost. At 9, Richard called them both into his office. "All right," Richard said, settling into his chair. "Doctor says I'm good to go, so let's talk about the Morrison account. We're pitching them next month on a complete system overhaul. Graham, you've been managing the technical side. Where are we?" Graham pulled out his tablet. "Development is on schedule. We'll have the demo ready 2 weeks before the pitch, but we need to finalize the presentation, and honestly, my presentation skills are mediocre at best." "That's what I'm here for," Richard said. "Nia, I'll need you to coordinate with Graham on this. Schedule time for us to work on the presentation together. Make sure all the materials are organized and attend the pitch meeting to take notes. This is a big account. Could mean significant growth if we land it." "Of course," Nia said. "When's the pitch?" 4 weeks from today, second week of January." Nia made notes, already thinking through the logistics. "I'll set up weekly prep meetings. Do you need the conference room reserved for practice runs?" "Good thinking. Yes, last week before the pitch, daily run-throughs." Richard looked pleased. "See, Graham, I told you she was sharp." Graham glanced at Nia. "You were right." Something warm moved through Nia's chest. Pride, maybe, or just the simple satisfaction of being seen clearly. The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed timelines, potential obstacles, what the client was likely to ask. Richard was in his element, confident, strategic, thinking 3 steps ahead. Watching him, Nia understood why the company had succeeded. Richard Hale was brilliant at reading people, at understanding what they needed before they said it out loud. "All right," Richard said finally. "Graham, get me a status update on the EVA. Demo by Wednesday. Nia, send me a proposed schedule for the prep meetings. And both of you, good work this morning. I'm glad to be back." They filed out of his office. Graham paused by Nia's desk. "You free for lunch later? We should probably coordinate on the Morrison stuff, figure out what information I need to pull together." "Sure, noon." "Works for me." They met in the cafeteria at 12. The lunch rush was just starting, employees streaming in, voices echoing off the high ceiling. Graham got a sandwich, Nia got soup and a roll. They found a table in the corner, away from the main crowd. "So," Graham said, pulling out his tablet, "Morrison account. What do you need from me?" They spent 20 minutes going through logistics, file organization, contact information, technical specifications that would need to be simplified for the presentation. Nia took detailed notes, asking questions when something wasn't clear. "You're really organized," Graham said. "Like, scary organized." "Is that a compliment?" "Definitely. I'm more of a wing it and hope for the best person. Drives my dad crazy." Nia smiled. "I noticed. Your desk has approximately 17 coffee mugs on it right now." 18, actually. But who's counting?" Graham grinned. "I'll clean it up, eventually." "Uh-huh." They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Graham said, "Can I ask you something personal?" Nia's shoulders tensed slightly. "Depends." "How did you learn to stay so calm? Like during Dad's collapse or when Tessa was being awful Friday night. You just handle things." Nia set down her spoon. "You want the real answer or the polite one?" "Real. When you're a black woman in professional spaces, calm is survival. If I react emotionally, get angry or scared or upset where people can see, it confirms every stereotype they already believe about me. So I learned to keep it inside. Process it later when I'm alone." Graham was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That's exhausting." "Yeah." "Does it ever stop? The feeling that you have to be perfect all the time?" Nia looked at him. Really looked. His expression was open, genuinely curious, not defensive or dismissive. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Maybe when you've proven yourself enough times, it gets easier. But I haven't reached that point yet. For what it's worth, you don't have to be perfect here. Not with me or my dad. We're going to mess up, and I'm sure you will too sometimes. That's just being human." "Easy to say when messing up doesn't cost you your job." Graham flinched slightly. "You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to minimize." "I know you didn't," Nia softened her voice. "I appreciate what you're trying to say, I do. But there's a difference between our experiences here. And pretending there isn't doesn't help anyone. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Graham pushed his food around his plate. Will you tell me if I do something that makes it harder? Working here, I mean, I want to know. Why? Because I want to do better, and I can't if I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Nia studied him. A week ago, she wouldn't have believed this was genuine, but watching him now, the sincerity in his face, the way he actually listened instead of just waiting to talk, something in her softened. Okay, she said, I'll tell you. Thank you. They finished lunch and headed back upstairs. The afternoon was busy. Back-to-back meetings, phone calls, a minor crisis with a vendor that Nia helped Richard navigate. By 5 o'clock, she was exhausted. Graham stopped by her desk on his way out. Hey, I'm heading out. You need anything before I go? I'm good. Have a nice evening. You too. He hesitated. Nia, thanks for being honest with me at lunch about the difference in our experiences. I needed to hear that. You're welcome. He left and Nia sat alone in the quiet office, processing the day. It had been good, productive, normal even. Maybe that was progress. The week moved quickly. Nia settled deeper into her role, learning the rhythms of the office, building relationships with people in other departments. Trevor from product development stopped by her desk regularly to chat, always friendly, always respectful. A few others warmed up too, a woman from marketing named Sarah, a guy from IT named Marcus. But Darla remained cold. She didn't interfere anymore, didn't access Nia's email or delete things. But she didn't smile either, didn't offer help when asked, just did the bare minimum and stayed out of Nia's way. Nia could live with that. Thursday afternoon, she was organizing files when Graham appeared looking stressed. We have a problem, he said. What kind of problem? Parking garage. Security called. Your car was involved in some kind of incident. Nia's heart dropped. What happened? I don't know. They just said come down. I'll go with you. They took the elevator down to level 3. A security guard met them by Nia's car. The passenger side was scraped badly. Long gouges in the paint, the mirror hanging loose. What? Nia stopped, staring. I didn't do this. I parked here this morning and it was fine. That's what I figured, the guard said. His name tag read J. Morrison. But we got a report from another employee saying they saw your car hit theirs. White Honda, parked 2 spaces over. Nia looked. The white Honda was pristine, not a scratch on it. That doesn't make sense, she said. If I hit their car, why is mine damaged and theirs isn't? Exactly what I was thinking, Morrison said. Plus, I checked the cameras. Your car's been sitting here untouched since 7:45 this morning. But someone else's vehicle, dark SUV, sideswiped yours around noon, then took off. Relief flooded through Nia. So you know it wasn't me. I know, but I need to figure out who made the false report. Morrison looked at Graham. You're the boss's son, right? Yeah? Any idea why someone would try to blame Ms. Carter for something she didn't do? Graham's jaw tightened. Maybe. Can you pull up who made the report? Morrison checked his tablet. A call came from extension 2847. That's Darla Finch, Graham finished. Office manager. Nia closed her eyes. Of course it was. I'll handle this, Graham said quietly. Graham, you don't have to. Yes, I do. His voice was hard now, angry. This is harassment, Nia. She's been doing this since you started. The email thing, withholding information. Now this. It stops today. Morrison cleared his throat. I'll write up the incident report with the actual facts. Ms. Carter, I'm sorry about your car. We'll get the license plate from the SUV that hit you. Might be able to track them down. Thank you, Nia said. Graham was already walking toward the elevator, his shoulders tense. Nia hurried to catch up. Graham, wait. I should have dealt with this sooner, he said without stopping. After the email thing, I should have gone to HR, made it official. But I thought if I just talked to her, set boundaries, she'd stop. It's not your fault. It kind of is. He jabbed the elevator button. I'm in a position of power here. I saw what was happening and I didn't do enough to stop it. They rode up in silence. When the doors opened on the 2nd floor, Graham headed straight for Darla's office. Nia followed, her stomach tight. Darla looked up from her computer, her expression shifting from neutral to wary when she saw Graham's face. We need to talk, Graham said. Now. About what? About the false report you made to security. About accessing Nia's email without permission. About the pattern of harassment you've been engaging in since she started. Darla's face flushed. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Graham's voice was calm but unyielding. And I have proof. Security footage. IT logs. Everything documented. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to sabotage a colleague because you felt threatened, and I let it slide the first time because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. But this ends now. Darla stood up, her hands shaking. You don't understand. Your father brings in someone new, gives her the executive assistant position without even consulting me, and suddenly I'm supposed to just accept it. I've been here 7 years, Graham. 7 years of loyalty, and he doesn't even consider me for the promotion. That's not Nia's fault, Graham said. And even if it was, what you're doing is unacceptable. It's harassment. It's possibly illegal, and it stops right now, or I'm taking this to HR and recommending termination. You wouldn't try me. They stared at each other. Nia stood frozen, watching this play out, not sure if she should intervene or stay silent. Finally, Darla's shoulders slumped. Fine, I'll stop. You'll also apologize. To Nia. Right now. Darla turned to Nia. Her eyes were hard, but her voice was steady. I apologize for my behavior. It won't happen again. The words felt empty, but Nia nodded. Thank you. Graham looked like he wanted to say more, but instead he just turned and walked out. Nia followed, her heart pounding. In the hallway, Graham stopped and leaned against the wall, running both hands through his hair. I'm sorry, he said. For what? You just defended me. I should have done it sooner, should have made it official the first time instead of trying to handle it quietly. He looked at her. I didn't want to make waves. Didn't want Dad to think I couldn't handle office politics. But that's my ego talking. And meanwhile, you're dealing with this garbage every day. Nia stepped closer. Graham, you stood up for me. You believed me without question, investigated, and confronted someone making my life difficult. That matters more than the timing. Does it? Yes. He held her gaze for a long moment. Something shifted between them, subtle but real, like a door opening just slightly. Come on, Nia said gently. Let's get back upstairs. Your dad's probably wondering where we disappeared to. They walked back to the executive suite together. Nia felt lighter somehow, despite everything. The car damage would be expensive to fix. Darla's apology had been insincere. But Graham had acted, had used his position to protect her instead of ignoring the problem. Trust is built in moments. Maybe Richard had been right all along. Friday evening, Graham asked if Nia wanted to grab dinner after work. Nothing fancy, he said quickly. Just, I don't know, I feel like we should talk. About this week. About everything. Nia hesitated. Dinner felt different than lunch in the cafeteria. More personal. But looking at his face, open, hopeful, nervous, she found herself nodding. Okay. Where? There's a pasta place near my apartment. Quiet, good food. You like Italian? I do. They drove separately and met at the restaurant, a small place with warm lighting and checkered tablecloths. Not fancy, like Graham had promised, just comfortable. They ordered lasagna for Nia, carbonara for Graham, and sat across from each other in a corner booth. So, Graham said, honest question, are you okay after this week? I'm tired, Nia admitted, but okay. That incident with Darla, it can't have been easy. It wasn't, but you handled it. That made a difference. Graham twisted his water glass slowly. I keep thinking about what you said at lunch Monday, about having to be perfect all the time because you can't afford to mess up. That shouldn't be how it works. But it is. I know, and I hate that. He looked up at her. I want you to know, and I know saying it isn't the same as showing it, but I still want to say it. You don't have to be perfect with me, or with my dad. We're not going to judge you for being human. Nia felt something tight in her chest loosen. Thank you. I mean it, Nia. You've proven yourself 10 times over already. At some point, you get to just exist, without constantly having to earn your place. Their food arrived. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Nia said, Can I ask you something? Of course. Why does this matter so much to you? Making things right with me, I mean. You apologized. You've been professional. You could have stopped there and fulfilled your obligation. So why keep going? Graham set down his fork, thought for a moment. Because I hate who I was that first morning, he said quietly. The person who looked at you and decided you were dangerous, that's not who I want to be. And maybe some of this is about easing my own guilt, I'll admit that. But it's also, I see how hard you work, how much you care about doing things right, and you deserve to work somewhere you don't have to constantly watch your back. That's idealistic. Maybe, but I'd rather be idealistic than cynical. Nia smiled despite herself. Your dad said something similar. When he was talking about hiring me, he said he needed someone steady. You are steady, even when everything around you isn't. They finished dinner slowly, talking about easier things, their favorite foods, what they'd wanted to be when they grew up. Graham told a story about his dad teaching him to ride a bike, how Richard had run alongside him for hours until Graham finally got it. He's patient, Graham said, always has been. I get my stubbornness from him, but not his patience. You're patient, Nia said. You spent all week teaching me systems and procedures without getting frustrated once. That's different. How? Graham met her eyes. Because I wanted to. Because teaching you meant spending time with you, and I... He stopped, seeming to catch himself. Never mind. But Nia heard what he didn't say, felt it in the air between them. Something was shifting, had been shifting all week, and Nia didn't know what to do with it. After dinner, they walked to their cars together. The night was cold but clear, stars visible despite the city lights. Thanks for dinner, Nia said. Thanks for coming. Graham hesitated. Nia, I know this is probably inappropriate, and I'll completely understand if you want to keep things strictly professional, but would you want to do this again? Dinner, I mean. Or coffee, or just talking, outside of work. Nia's heart kicked against her ribs. Are you asking me on a date? Maybe, if you want it to be. Graham looked genuinely uncertain. I'm really bad at this. You're doing fine. Nia surprised herself by smiling. And yes, I'd like that. Relief flooded Graham's face. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, good, great. He laughed nervously. Sorry, I haven't done this in a while. The asking part. Me neither. They stood there for a moment, neither quite ready to leave. Then Graham said, I should let you go. It's late. Right, yeah. But neither of them moved. Finally, Graham stepped closer. Can I... He gestured vaguely between them. Nia understood. Yes? He kissed her softly, carefully, like he was afraid she might disappear. Nia's eyes closed, and for just a moment she let herself feel this, the warmth, the gentleness, the surprising rightness of it. When they pulled apart, Graham was smiling. I'll see you Monday, he said. See you Monday. Nia drove home with her windows down despite the cold, her mind spinning. This was complicated. He was her colleague, technically her supervisor. His father was her boss. There were power dynamics and potential problems, and a dozen reasons to be careful. But his kiss had been gentle. His words had been honest. And for the first time in a long time, Nia felt like maybe she could trust this. Maybe. The weekend passed in a blur. Nia tried to focus on normal things, laundry, grocery shopping, calling her mother, but her mind kept drifting back to Friday night. The restaurant, the conversation, the kiss. She didn't tell her mother about Graham, not yet. It felt too new, too fragile to put into words. Sunday evening, she was folding laundry when her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Hey, it's Graham. Got your number from your HR file. Probably shouldn't have, but here we are. Just wanted to say I'm really glad Friday happened. See you tomorrow. Nia smiled and typed back, technically an abuse of power, but I'll allow it. See you tomorrow. His response came quickly. I'll try not to make a habit of abusing power, unless you ask nicely. Nia laughed out loud. This man, this nervous, earnest, trying so hard man. She went to bed that night feeling lighter than she had in months. Monday morning, she arrived at the office early as usual, but this time, Graham was already there, waiting by her desk with 2 cups of coffee. Morning, he said, and his smile was different now, warmer, more open. Morning. They didn't talk about Friday, didn't acknowledge the shift between them, just settled into work like always, reviewing schedules, organizing files, preparing for the week ahead. But when Richard called them into his office at 9, he looked between them with knowing eyes. "Everything all right with you two?" Richard asked. "Fine," Graham said quickly. "Great," Nia added. Richard smiled slightly. "Good. 'Cause I need you working together on this Morrison pitch, and I can't have any tension mucking things up." "No tension," Graham said. "Glad to hear it." Richard opened a folder. "Now, let's talk strategy." They spent the morning planning. Richard was in his element, laying out how to approach the client, what to emphasize, how to handle potential objections. Nia took detailed notes, already thinking about how to organize the presentation. After the meeting, Graham lingered by her desk. "Dinner at my place this week?" he asked quietly. "I make a mean stir-fry." "Stir-fry sounds good. Wednesday? I'll motors be there." He squeezed her hand briefly, so quick anyone watching would have missed it, and walked back to his office. Nia sat at her desk, trying to focus on work, trying not to smile too obviously. This was complicated, potentially messy, probably inadvisable. But sitting here now, in this office where she'd proven herself, with a man who'd actually done the work of seeing her clearly, it felt like maybe complicated was okay. Maybe messy was worth it. Maybe, for once, something good could actually happen. Wednesday evening, Nia stood outside Graham's apartment building, checking her reflection in the glass door. She'd changed 3 times before leaving home. First outfit too casual, second too formal, third just right. Dark jeans, a soft green sweater, her hair down for once instead of pulled back. This was a date, an actual date, not a work dinner or a casual lunch. She was about to spend the evening alone with a man who, 2 weeks ago, had called her dangerous. Her phone buzzed. Text from Graham. "Doors open. Come on up. Apt 4B. Nia took a breath and went inside. The building was nice, older but well-maintained. Hardwood floors, high ceilings. She took the elevator to the 4th floor and found his door. Graham answered before she could knock. He was wearing jeans and a gray Henley, barefoot, his hair slightly messy. He looked relaxed, real. "Hey," he said, smiling. "Come in." The apartment was smaller than she'd expected, but warm. Books everywhere, stacked on shelves, piled on the coffee table, a few scattered by the couch. The kitchen was open to the living room, and something delicious was cooking on the stove. "It smells amazing," Nia said. "Wait until you taste it before making judgments." Graham gestured to the kitchen island. "Have a seat. Want some wine? I have red and white, or beer, or just water if you prefer." "Red wine sounds good." He poured 2 glasses and handed her one. Their fingers brushed, and Nia felt that spark again, the same one from Friday night. "So," Graham said, returning to the stove, "how was your day?" "Busy. Your dad had me reorganizing his entire filing system. Apparently it's been chaos for years." Graham laughed. "That sounds like him. He'll let things pile up until someone forces him to deal with it." "What about you? How was your day?" "Meetings. So many meetings. I swear half of business is just sitting in rooms talking about things we could have handled in an email." He stirred the vegetables in the pan. "But I did finalize the demo for Morrison. Want to see it after dinner?" "I'd love to." They fell into easy conversation. Work stories, complaints about difficult coworkers, plans for the upcoming pitch. It felt natural, comfortable, like they'd been doing this for months instead of days. Graham served the stir-fry over rice, and they sat at his small dining table by the window. The city lights spread out below them, turning the night into something almost beautiful. "This is really good," Nia said after her first bite. "My one culinary skill. Everything else I make is either burned or undercooked, but stir-fry. I can handle stir-fry. What else can't you cook?" "Anything involving an oven. Pasta, I always overcook it. Eggs are a mystery. Don't even get me started on baking." Graham grinned. "I'm basically a disaster in the kitchen except for this one thing." "Well, it's a good thing to be good at." They ate slowly, talking about everything and nothing. Graham told her about growing up as an only child, how his mother had died when he was 12, how his dad had thrown himself into work afterward. "He built the company partly to distract himself from grief," Graham said quietly. "And I think sometimes he still does that, uses work to avoid dealing with feelings." "Do you do that too?" Nia asked gently. Graham considered. "Yeah, probably. It's easier to focus on problems I can solve than emotions I can't control." I understand that. Do you? Do the same thing, I mean. Nia nodded slowly. After the accusation at my old job, I just shut down emotionally, focused entirely on finding new work, proving I was competent, making sure it never happened again. I didn't let myself feel angry or hurt or scared, just pushed it all down and kept moving. That sounds exhausting. It was. Nia took a sip of wine. Still is, sometimes. Graham reached across the table and took her hand. The gesture was simple, but it made Nia's breath catch. You don't have to do that here, he said. Push things down, I mean, not with me. I don't know how to do anything else. Maybe we can figure it out together. Nia looked at their joined hands, his pale skin against her darker brown. Such a simple thing, but loaded with history, with meaning, with all the complications that came with being who they were. This is complicated, she said softly. I know. Your dad's my boss. You're technically my supervisor. People are going to talk. Let them talk. Easy for you to say. Nia pulled her hand back gently. You're not the one they'll judge. They won't call you unprofessional or say you slept your way into the job. That's all going to fall on me. Graham's face fell. You're right. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking about... I'm not saying we can't do this, Nia interrupted. I'm just saying we need to be careful. We need to be smart about it. Okay, what does that look like? Nia thought for a moment. We keep it quiet at work. No obvious displays, no special treatment. If this is real, if we're actually going to try this, then we do it right. We don't give anyone ammunition to use against either of us. I can do that. And we tell your father, soon, before someone else does. He deserves to know what's happening. Graham nodded slowly. That makes sense. When? Soon, after this week maybe, once we're sure this is actually something. I'm sure, Graham said quietly. Nia met his eyes. So am I. But we still need to be smart. Deal. They finished dinner and moved to the couch. Graham pulled up the Morrison demo on his laptop, walking Nia through the technical features, explaining how each element addressed the client's specific needs. But somewhere in the middle of his presentation, they stopped paying attention to the screen, started paying attention to each other instead. Graham kissed her again, and this time it was less careful, less tentative. Nia kissed him back, letting herself feel this, the want, the warmth, the surprising rightness of being close to him. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Graham rested his forehead against hers. I really like you, he said. I really like you too. This is probably moving too fast. Probably. Should we slow down? Nia considered. Her practical side said yes, be careful, protect yourself, don't rush into something that could blow up in your face. But her heart said something different. No, she said finally. I don't want to slow down. Graham smiled and kissed her again. Nia left Graham's apartment around 11, her lips swollen, her heart racing. They hadn't gone too far. Both had agreed to take things slow physically, even if emotionally they were already in deep. But lying in bed that night, Nia couldn't stop smiling. Couldn't stop thinking about his hands in her hair, his voice saying her name, the way he looked at her like she was something precious. She was falling for him, maybe had already fallen, and that terrified her almost as much as it thrilled her. Thursday morning at work, they were careful, professional. Graham brought coffee like always, but didn't linger. They worked together on Morrison Prep, but kept their distance. At lunch, Nia sat with Sarah from marketing, who invited her to join a women's networking group that met monthly. We're always looking for new members, Sarah said. Professional development, mentorship, that kind of thing. Plus, it's nice to have people to vent to who get it. Get what? Being a woman in a male-dominated industry. It's better than it used to be, but still. Sarah smiled. Anyway, think about it. Next meeting is in 2 weeks. I will. Thank you. That afternoon, Richard called Nia into his office alone. Close the door, he said. Nia's stomach tightened. Did he know? Had someone seen her and Graham together? She sat down, trying to keep her expression neutral. Richard leaned back in his chair, studying her. How are you settling in, really? Not the polite answer. The truth. I'm good, Naya said carefully. The work is challenging but manageable. Most people have been welcoming. Most people? Darla and I got off on the wrong foot, but Graham addressed it. Things are better now. Richard nodded slowly. Graham told me what happened. The email access, the false report about your car. I'm sorry I didn't catch it sooner. It's not your responsibility. It is, actually. You're my employee. Making sure you're treated fairly is absolutely my responsibility. Richard's voice was firm but kind. If anything like that happens again, I want you to come directly to me. Don't wait for Graham to handle it. Understood? Yes, thank you. Good. Richard's expression softened. Now, the real reason I wanted to talk. I've been watching you work these past 2 weeks. You're good at this, Nia. Really good. You anticipate needs, solve problems before they become crises, handle pressure with grace. That's rare. Nia felt warmth spread through her chest. That means a lot. I don't give compliments I don't mean. Richard smiled. My point is, I see a future for you here beyond just being my assistant. If you're interested in growing with the company, moving into project management, maybe operations, I'd like to support that. Not immediately, but down the line. Something to think about. I'll definitely think about it. Good. Now get out of here before I pile more work on you. Nia left his office feeling lighter. Richard saw her potential, believed in her. That mattered more than she'd expected. She was settling into this desk, checking her notes for tomorrow's meeting when her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing with Graham Hale. You should be careful. Not everyone will be as understanding as you think. Nia's blood went cold. She read the message 3 times, her hands shaking. Someone knew, someone was watching, and someone wanted her to be afraid. She screenshot the message and forwarded it to Graham with a simple caption. We need to talk. His response came immediately. My office. Now. Graham's face was tight with anger when she showed him the message. Who sent this? I don't know. Unknown number. Can we trace it? Maybe. I can forward it to IT, ask them to check. Graham paced his office, hands clenched. This is harassment. This is someone trying to intimidate you. It's working, Nia said quietly. He stopped, looked at her. What do you want to do? I don't know. Nia sat down heavily. Part of me wants to tell them to go to hell, but another part... Graham, this is exactly what I was worried about. People judging me, thinking the worst. Then we tell my dad, right now. Get ahead of this. He'll have to know we're... Nia gestured vaguely between them. Whatever this is. I know, and I'm okay with that if you are. Nia took a breath. Okay, let's tell him. They walked to Richard's office together. He was on the phone but waved them in, finishing his call quickly when he saw their expressions. What's wrong? Richard asked. Graham handed him Nia's phone with the message displayed. Richard read it, his face darkening. When did you receive this? About 10 minutes ago, Nia said. And the reason someone might think there's something between you and Graham. Nia and Graham exchanged a glance. Graham spoke first. Because there is. Something. Between us, I mean. We've started seeing each other. Outside of work. Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, How long? Since last Friday, Nia said. It's new, very new. And we've been careful at work. No special treatment. Nothing inappropriate, but someone clearly noticed something. Richard handed back the phone and sat back in his chair. Okay, let me be clear about a few things. First, what you do outside of work is your business, as long as it doesn't interfere with your job performance, and I haven't seen any indication that it has. I have no objection. Relief flooded through Nia. Thank you. However, Richard continued, this message is a problem. It's threatening. It's harassment. And I won't tolerate that kind of behavior from any employee. He picked up his desk phone. I'm calling HR. We're going to file a formal complaint, try to trace the number and make it very clear that this won't be ignored. Dad, maybe we should... No. Richard's voice was steel. Someone is trying to intimidate Nia because of her relationship with you. That's unacceptable. We handle this properly, officially, right now. He made the call. 10 minutes later, Joan from HR arrived with paperwork. Nia gave her statement, forwarded the message, answered questions about any other incidents. We'll investigate, Joan said. In the meantime, if you receive any more messages like this, document them and report them immediately. Don't respond, don't engage, just report. After Joan left, Richard looked at both of them seriously. I meant what I said. What happens between you two outside this office is your choice. But inside this office, you're both professionals with a job to do. Can you maintain that separation? Yes, they said in unison. Good. Because if this becomes a distraction, if it affects the Morrison pitch or your work quality, we'll need to have a different conversation. Understood? Understood, Graham said. Richard's expression softened. For what it's worth, I'm not surprised. I've seen how you look at each other. And Nia, my son is a good man, flawed, stubborn, sometimes clueless, but good. If you're happy, I'm happy. Thank you, Richard. After they left his office, Graham walked Nia back to her desk. His hand brushed hers briefly, the only physical contact they'd allowed themselves here. You okay? He asked quietly. Scared, Nia admitted. But okay. We'll figure this out. I hope so. That evening, Nia went to her mother's house. She needed to talk to someone who wasn't Graham, wasn't involved in the situation, someone who would tell her the truth even if it hurt. Evelyn took one look at her daughter's face and pulled her into a hug. What happened, baby? They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Nia had eaten thousands of meals growing up. Nia told her mother everything, Graham, the kiss, the relationship, the threatening message. Evelyn listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When Nia finished, her mother was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Do you trust him? Graham? Yes. Nia thought about it, really thought about it. I want to. I think I do. But I'm scared, Mama. Scared I'm making the same mistake again, trusting the wrong person, letting my guard down, setting myself up to get hurt. That's not the same question. I asked if you trust him, not if you're scared. Can't both be true? Evelyn reached across the table and took Nia's hand. Baby, you've been hurt, badly hurt, and it's made you cautious, which is smart, but it's also made you afraid to believe anything good could actually be real, and that's no way to live. So what do? You make a choice. You decide if this man, this relationship, is worth the risk. And if it is, you give it everything you have. You don't hold back out of fear. You don't protect yourself so much that you can't actually feel anything good. And if I get hurt again, then you survive it. Same way you survived before. Same way you've survived everything life has thrown at you. Evelyn squeezed her hand. But Nia, you can't live your whole life waiting for the other shoe to drop. Sometimes good things actually happen. Sometimes people actually care. You have to let yourself believe that's possible. Nia felt tears prick her eyes. I'm trying, Mama. I know you are. And I'm so proud of you. Evelyn smiled. Now tell me about this boy. What makes him special? So Nia did. She told her mother about Graham's patience, his honesty, the way he'd stood up for her again and again, the way he made her laugh, the way he looked at her like she mattered. And talking about it, Nia realized something. She wasn't just falling for Graham, she'd already fallen, completely. The question now was whether she'd let herself actually land or keep scrambling for footholds, too afraid to trust the ground beneath her. Friday morning, Joan from HR called Nia into her office. We traced the number, Joan said. It was a burner phone, purchased with cash 2 days ago. We can't identify who bought it. Nia's stomach sank. So that's it? There's nothing we can do? We're reviewing security footage from the store where it was purchased, but it's a long shot. Joan's expression was sympathetic. In the meantime, I want you to know we take this seriously. We've sent a company-wide email reminding everyone about our harassment policies, and if you receive any more messages, we'll escalate to legal. Okay, thank you. Nia returned to her desk feeling defeated. Whoever had sent that message was still out there, still watching, still waiting. Graham appeared beside her. Any news? Dead end, burner phone, he cursed softly. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Feels like it is. Graham glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Want to get out of here tonight? Just drive somewhere? Get away from all this? Where? I don't know. Anywhere. We could drive to the coast, watch the sunset, just be somewhere that isn't here. Nia smiled despite everything. That sounds perfect. They left work at 5 and drove north, following the highway as it wound toward the ocean. The landscape shifted gradually, city to suburbs to open land. They didn't talk much, just listened to music and let the miles unspool behind them. They reached the coast as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and deep purple. Graham parked at an overlook and they got out to watch. The ocean stretched out endlessly, waves crashing against rocks below. The air smelled like salt and cold water. Nia breathed it in, feeling some of the week's tension ease. Graham stood beside her, close but not touching, respecting boundaries even here, where no one could see them. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure. That message yesterday, the threatening one, did it make you want to end this?" "Us?" Nia turned to look at him. "Is that what you think?" "I don't know. I wouldn't blame you if it did. If this is too complicated, too risky. I'd understand." "Graham." Nia stepped closer. "I'm scared. I won't lie about that. But I'm not running, not from you." "No?" "No." She reached for his hand. "My mom said something yesterday. She said I can't live my whole life waiting for bad things to happen, that sometimes good things are actually real." "Your mom sounds smart." "She is," Nia smiled. "So I'm choosing to believe this is real, that you're real, that whatever this is between us, it's worth fighting for." Graham pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her. Nia leaned into him, letting herself feel safe here, in this moment, with this man. "I'm falling for you," Graham said quietly, in case that wasn't obvious. "It's a little obvious. Is that okay?" Nia pulled back enough to look at his face. "Yeah, it's okay, because I'm falling for you too." He kissed her then, soft and slow, as the sun disappeared below the horizon and the sky turned dark. And for the first time in longer than Nia could remember, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The weekend passed too quickly. They spent Saturday together, brunch at a small cafe, a walk through the park, hours on Graham's couch watching movies and talking about everything. Sunday, Nia went to church with her mother for the first time in months, sat in the familiar pew, listened to the familiar hymns, let the ritual comfort her. Afterward, her mother made lunch, and they talked about the future, about Nia's job, about Graham, about the possibility that good things could actually last. "Just take it one day at a time," Evelyn said. "Don't borrow trouble from tomorrow." "I'll try." Monday morning came too fast. Nia arrived at work early, steeling herself for whatever the week would bring. She found Graham already at her desk with coffee, their routine now, their small rebellion against everyone, watching. "Morning," he said. "Morning. Sleep okay?" "Better than I expected. You?" "Same." They smiled at each other, and for just a moment, everything felt normal. Simple. Right. Then Darla walked past, her eyes cold, and Nia remembered. Nothing about this was simple. But maybe that was okay. Maybe complicated was where the real things lived, messy and difficult and worth it. The morning passed in meetings and prep work for Morrison. The pitch was now 3 weeks away. Richard was increasingly focused, pushing them to perfect every detail. At lunch, Trevor from product development stopped by Nia's desk. "Hey, I heard about the harassment message," he said quietly. "Just wanted to say I'm sorry that happened. And if you need anything, someone to walk you to your car, back up in a meeting, whatever, I'm here." Nia was surprised by the offer. "Thank you, Trevor. That's really kind. We're a team here. Or we're supposed to be anyway." He smiled. "Some people forgot that, but the rest of us remember." After he left, Nia felt something shift in her chest. Maybe she wasn't as alone here as she'd thought. Maybe there were people worth trusting after all. That afternoon, Joan from HR called again. "We got a hit on the security footage," she said. "Woman, approximately 45, blonde hair. Purchased the phone at a convenience store downtown. The image isn't great, but we're working on enhancing it. Do you think you can identify her?" "We're trying. In the meantime, be careful and keep documenting everything." Nia hung up feeling unsettled. A woman, blonde. That could be anyone. Dozens of employees fit that description. Or it could be Darla. But Nia didn't want to make accusations without proof, didn't want to assume based on nothing but suspicion. That's what Graham had done to her. And look where that had led. She pushed the thought away and focused on work. One day at a time, like her mother said. Just one day at a time. Wednesday evening, Graham cooked for her again. Another stir-fry because it was his one skill and he owned it. They ate on his couch, talking about the Morrison pitch, about office politics, about nothing important. 3 more weeks, Graham said. Then we'll know if all this prep was worth it. It will be. The demo is solid. Your dad's presentation is perfect. We've got this. I hope you're right. They cleaned up together, moving around his small kitchen in comfortable synchronicity. When the dishes were done, Graham pulled her close. Stay, he said quietly. Tonight, just to sleep. I want you here. Nia hesitated. Staying felt like crossing a line, making this more real, more serious. But hadn't they already crossed that line? Weren't they already serious? Okay, she said, I'll stay. They lay in Graham's bed talking in the dark, about childhoods and dreams and fears, about what they wanted from life, about whether they could actually build something together, despite all the complications. I want this to work, Graham said. Whatever it takes, I want this to work. So do I. Even if people talk? Let them talk. Nia turned to face him. My whole life, people have talked about me, made assumptions, spread rumors, decided who I was without asking. I can't control that, but I can control how I respond, and I'm choosing to be happy. With you. Graham kissed her forehead. I don't deserve you. That's not for you to decide. Fair point. They fell asleep tangled together, and Nia woke at dawn feeling more rested than she had in months. Graham was still sleeping, his face peaceful, one arm thrown across her waist. She lay there watching him, this man who'd misjudged her so badly and then worked so hard to do better. This man who was trying, really trying, to be someone worthy of her trust. Maybe that was all anyone could ask for. Not perfection, just effort, just the willingness to grow. Nia slipped out of bed quietly, dressed and wrote a note. Had to go home and change. See you at work. Last night was perfect. She left it on his pillow and drove home through the early morning light, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. She felt safe, and that was everything. Thursday afternoon, Joan from HR came to Nia's desk personally. We enhanced the footage, she said. We have a clear image now. Can you come to my office? Nia's heart pounded as she followed Joan down the hallway. Graham saw them pass and fell into step beside Nia. What's going on? He asked. They have an image from the security footage. In Joan's office, she pulled up a photo on her computer, a woman's face, clear now in enhanced resolution. Nia's stomach dropped. It was Darla. Are you sure? Graham asked. Facial recognition confirms it. This is Darla Finch, purchasing the burner phone used to send the threatening message. Joan looked at Nia. I'm sorry. I know you two have had issues. What happens now? Nia asked. I've already contacted Richard. He's meeting with Darla and our legal team now. Given the documented pattern of harassment, she'll likely be terminated. Terminated, Graham repeated. Good. But Nia felt strange. Not triumphant, just sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that Darla's fear and jealousy had driven her to something so extreme. Are you okay? Graham asked quietly. I will be. They returned to the executive suite together. 20 minutes later, Richard emerged from the conference room looking tired. It's done, he said. Darla has been terminated effective immediately. Security is escorting her out now. Thank you, Richard, Nia said. I'm sorry it took this long. I should have seen what was happening sooner. Richard looked between them. Both of you, take the rest of the day off. You've earned it. Dad, we're fine. That wasn't a suggestion, Graham. Take Nia somewhere nice. Decompress. I'll see you both tomorrow. They drove to the coast again. Their place now, apparently. Sat on the rocks watching waves crash, not talking much, just being together. Do you feel guilty? Nia asked. About Darla? No, she made her choices. I do, a little. She felt threatened, and I was the visible symbol of that threat. Graham turned to her. Nia, you didn't do anything wrong. You can't take responsibility for someone else's bad decisions. I know. Logically, I know, but still. You have a kind heart, Graham said. That's not a bad thing. Feels complicated. Most good things are. They stayed until sunset, then drove back to the city. Graham walked Nia to her apartment door. Want me to come in? He asked. No, I think I need some time alone tonight, to process. I understand. He kissed her gently. Call me if you need anything. I will, I promise. Inside her apartment, Nia sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. The job, Graham, Darla, the constant push and pull between hope and fear. Her phone rang, her mother. Hey, Mama. Just checking on you, baby. You sounded stressed when we talked yesterday. They fired the woman who was harassing me. Good, she deserved it. I know, but I still feel bad. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Then she said, That's because you're a good person, Nia. You see people's humanity even when they don't see yours. That's a gift. Don't let the world take that from you. I'm trying. I know you are. Now get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. Nia slept deeply that night, and when she woke Friday morning, something had shifted. The fear was still there. Probably always would be. But it was quieter now. Manageable. She could do this job, this relationship, this life. She could actually do this. At work, the office felt lighter without Darla's hostile presence. People smiled more. The tension that had been hovering at the edges was gone. Graham brought coffee and a bagel, her favorite kind, with cream cheese. He'd remembered. How are you feeling? He asked. Better? Clearer? Good, he hesitated. So, I was thinking, the Morrison pitch is in 2 weeks. After that, things will calm down. And I thought maybe we could tell people about us. Make it official. Nia's heart stuttered. Official? If you want, I know it's complicated, but hiding feels wrong now. Like we're ashamed and I'm not. I'm proud to be with you, Nia. I want people to know. Nia thought about her mother's words. Sometimes good things are actually real. Okay, she said. After Morrison, we'll tell people. Graham's smile was brilliant. Yeah? Yeah. He squeezed her hand quickly, their small rebellion, and went back to his office. Nia sat at her desk, feeling something like joy bubble up in her chest. This was real. This was happening. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. The next 2 weeks flew by in a blur of preparation. They practiced the pitch until everyone could. Recited in their sleep. Richard refined every slide, every talking point. Graham perfected the demo. Nia coordinated logistics, materials, backup plans. The night before the pitch, Graham came to Nia's apartment with takeout and nervous energy. What if we mess this up, he said, pacing her small living room. We won't. But what if we do? What if I freeze or the demo crashes or... Nia stood up and grabbed his shoulders, stopping him mid-pace. Graham, look at me. He met her eyes. We've done the work, she said firmly. All of it. We're prepared. And tomorrow we're going to walk in there and show them exactly why Hale Industries is the right choice. Together. Graham took a shaky breath. Together. Together. He pulled her into a hug and they stood there for a long moment, breathing in sync. I love you, Graham said quietly. I know it's fast, but I do. I love you. Nia pulled back to look at his face. Say that again. I love you, Nia Carter. She kissed him then, deep and sure and certain. I love you too, Graham Hale. They spent the night wrapped around each other, not talking about the pitch or work or complications, just being together, just loving each other. And in the morning, they were ready. The Morrison pitch was scheduled for 10 a.m. at the client's office downtown. Nia arrived early with Richard and Graham carrying materials, making sure everything was perfect. The conference room was intimidating, huge windows, expensive furniture, a table that could seat 20. The Morrison team filed in one by one, their expressions neutral, professional. Richard led the presentation with confidence. Graham demonstrated the technical features smoothly. Nia took notes, tracked questions, ensured nothing fell through the cracks. It lasted 90 minutes. When it was over, the Morrison CEO stood and shook Richard's hand. This is exactly what we needed, she said. Send over the contract. We're in. Outside the building, Richard hugged both of them. We did it. he said, his voice thick with emotion. Nia, Graham, we did it. They drove back to the office triumphant. People congratulated them in the hallways. Trevor brought champagne. Sarah from marketing organized an impromptu celebration. And through it all, Graham kept finding excuses to stand near Nia, to catch her eye, to smile. At 5 o'clock, Richard called them into his office. Sit, he said, both of you. They sat. First, excellent work today. That pitch was flawless, Richard smiled. Second, I have some news. I'm stepping back. Graham went pale. What? Dad, are you? I'm fine, healthy. But today made me realize something. I built this company, but it's time to let the next generation lead. Graham, I'm promoting you to VP of Operations. You've earned it. And Nia, I'd like to offer you a position as Director of Strategic Initiatives. You've proven you can handle high-stakes projects. I want you doing more of that. Nia couldn't speak, Director. A real leadership role, not just an assistant anymore. Say yes, Graham whispered beside her. Yes, Nia managed. Thank you, Richard. I won't let you down. I know you won't. Richard looked between them. Now get out of here. Go celebrate. You've earned it. They left his office in a daze. In the hallway, Graham grabbed Nia's hand. We're doing this, he said. Right now. No more hiding. He led her back into the office where people were still celebrating. He raised his voice above the chatter. Hey everyone, can I have your attention? The room quieted. Graham kept hold of Nia's hand. I have an announcement. Nia and I are together, dating, in a relationship, whatever you want to call it, and I wanted everyone to know because I'm not interested in hiding something this important. Silence. Then Trevor started clapping. Sarah joined in. Soon the whole room was applauding, some people whistling, others calling out congratulations. Nia felt tears prick her eyes. This was real. This was happening. And people were happy for them. After work, they went back to Graham's apartment and collapsed on his couch, exhausted and elated. We did it, Nia said, all of it. We did, Graham pulled her closer. And you know what? This is just the beginning. The beginning? Of everything. Your new job, us being public, building something real together. He kissed her temple. I meant what I said last night. I love you, Nia. I love you too. They fell asleep there on the couch, tangled together, and when Nia woke in the middle of the night, she looked at Graham's sleeping face and felt something she'd thought she'd lost forever. She felt safe. She felt seen. She felt loved. And for the first time in her life, she believed it would last. 3 months later, Nia stood at her new desk. Bigger office now, with a window and a door that closed. She was reviewing proposals for a potential client when someone knocked. Come in. Graham poked his head in. Busy? Always. What's up? Lunch? There's something I want to talk about. They went to their favorite taco truck, sat on their usual bench overlooking the river. The weather was warming, early spring pushing away winter's cold. So, Graham said, looking nervous, I've been thinking. Dangerous activity? He laughed. Fair, but seriously, these past few months with you have been the best of my life. You challenge me, support me, make me want to be better, and I know it's only been a few months, but I'm sure, more sure than I've ever been about anything. Nia's heart started pounding. Graham, let me finish. He took her hand. I'm not asking anything big today, but I want you to know, this is it for me. You're it. And whenever you're ready, however long it takes, I'm going to ask you to marry me, because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Nia felt tears spill over. Happy tears, grateful tears. You're asking permission to propose? I guess I am. That's the most Graham thing I've ever heard. Is that a yes? Nia laughed through her tears. Yes. Whenever you ask, the answer is yes. Graham kissed her there on their bench, in full view of anyone passing by. And Nia kissed him back, not caring who saw, not worried about judgment or consequences. She'd spent her whole life being afraid, protecting herself, expecting the worst. But Graham had taught her something different. Her mother had taught her. Richard had taught her. Sometimes good things were real. Sometimes people actually cared. Sometimes love actually lasted. And sometimes, just sometimes, the dangerous-looking woman in the lobby turned out to be exactly the person you needed all along.